I'd like to start today with some math. And I remember from school there's nothing better than fingers to do math. So I'd like you to join me with your hands. Okay? 2 hands, everybody? Yes? 10 fingers? Most of you? Excellent. 1 thumb in. I was born with 12, so hey. That's it. You've got 9 fingers, right? Now, you might have heard the statistics that only that 60% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. So out of your fingers, that leaves you with 3. Okay? So now you've got 3 businesses. What you might not have heard is that only about 30 to 40% of businesses that are put up for sale will actually sell. The other 60 to 70% will fold at a cost of about £5,000. That leaves you with 1. Quite a statistics, isn't it? Now, raise your hand if you're either in business already or thinking to go in business and you'd like to be the one. Well, I'm not on my own, thank goodness. Well, why would you go into business if you are planning on failing? What I'm here to share with you today is that there are ways that you can sway the odds in your favor. In the words of Richie Norton, who is a serial entrepreneur and a recognized as one of the top 100 business coaches in the world, destiny is not fate. It's navigation. Let me say that one more time. It's quite profound, isn't it? Destiny is not fate. It's navigation. And that's because the decisions we make in our business is actually what determines where your business is going to get to. I'd like to share with you how this is relevant to my clients. And for that, I'd like to share with you the story of one of my clients. Let me take you back to the 4th of November 2021. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm waiting to go on a Zoom call with my digital marketing partner. She's called Tina. She's got blonde, straight hair. She looks a little bit like Jennifer Aniston. She's got this lovely smile. You know, it's always a pleasure to work with her. But when the camera comes on that day, she's not looking her usual self. It's as if there's a cloud above her head. So I try and make light, make a joke for her, and I say to her, well, that she's in Cape Town, so it's summer for her in November, but she's really not having it. So I try and tease it out of her. I say, Tina, what's the matter? You can't tell me anything. What's troubling you? Well, you see, Helen, I'm really, really struggling at the present. I've been running this business for about 3.5 years, and I've been on a lot of courses, I've read a lot of books. I'm really good at what I do. You know that. It's been working great for you and my other clients. I just can't seem to do it for myself. And it's been weighing me down. I feel really, really stuck. Because the other thing as well is I'm on my own. There is nobody else to pay the rent. It's just me and the 2 cats. And the thought of going back to employment is unbearable. So I feel really, really stuck now. Have you ever had a time in your life where you just wanted to reach out to somebody and put your arm around them and let them know that you feel that pain? That's what I wanted to do for Tina. But of course, because she's in Cape Town, that wasn't going to happen. So I did the next best thing I could for her, which was to share a little bit of my personal story that showed that not only I understood her pain, but also I knew there was light at the end of the tunnel. And if that's okay, I'd like to share that with you today. It all started when I was a child, because both my parents were on a farm. I was brought up on a farm. And my dad was a beef cattle farmer. He got into it because that's what his father did. But he wasn't that interested in it. In his heart, he was actually an artist. He looked a bit like Charlie Chaplin. He had the same frame and, the curly black hair. He loved to entertain people. So it meant that the combination of not being educated, he left school at 11, and not being interested in the business, it wasn't going great. My mom was very different. Well, for one thing, I look like her, so not Charlie Chaplin. But she was very gregarious. But she was also very worried because the business was doing dreadfully badly. Financially, it was a disaster. And we had mounting debts. Now, I have a brother as well, and he absolutely loved the farm. And he wanted to stay on the farm, and he wanted it to be his life. And she was really worried that by the time he was old enough, there would be nothing left of it. So she did two things. The first thing was that she told my brother to go and educate himself so that he would really understand how to run the farm, if that's what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. She sent him to college and she sent him to university, the equivalent of a degree for farming. And the other thing she did was to start a new business on the farm. Now, being gregarious as she was, she started to sell a few chickens at the market. And it turned out that she was really good at it. So she pushed on. She grew the business. And one thing led to another. She's now, 4 years later, selling 150 birds a week. Chickens, guinea fowls, ducks, turkeys for Christmas. My brother comes out of uni, graduated. She brings him in. Gives him a small part of the business so he can get his hands, into it. But life is looking good now. She's subsidizing the cattle farm. That's still losing money, but we're good. And then disaster strikes. My mom contracts a rare form of leukemia. Within 2 months, we know there's no hope. But it took a whole year before it took her away. She was 50. I was 17. And my brother was 24. We were devastated. Not only we lost our mom, but my brother had also lost his business mentor. But we learned 4 valuable lessons in the middle of this tragedy. The first lesson that we learned was that if you want to do it, well, you better do it today, because you don't know what tomorrow. The second lesson that we learned is that the best way to take control of your life is actually to go into entrepreneurship. But then lesson number 3 is that if you're going to go into entrepreneurship, then you better do something that you are passionate about. Otherwise, your life will be a misery. That was my dad. But passion is not enough. Lesson number 4, you need to educate yourself. Running a business is not an inane science. You don't just have it in you. It's something you need to learn so that you can navigate your business to where you want it to go. My brother will be 60 next week, and this business has given him a comfortable living for his whole life, and now he's getting ready to sell it on. On my side, I went back to university and I graduated with a master's in business studies because I wanted to go into business too. And age 22, having just finished my studies, I then completely changed my life and moved to the UK. Yes, the accent is French, if you'd not worked it out already. And so 22, I moved to the UK, I knew nobody. By age 25, I started my first business. 3 years later, I sold it on. It's still going to this day. And then I went back to studying again. This time I wanted to study accountancy, specifically in the UK. And I qualified as a management accountant and spent the next 25 years of my life working in businesses of all shapes and sizes, from startups all the way to global businesses. My last role, I was finance director for Europe, Middle East and Africa. And in all this time, I have been learning and practicing what I call the tools of business navigation. So I would like to share with you those tools, because for all of you who have businesses, they are part of what you need to do to make sure you navigate to a success. So of the tools of business navigation, I've worked out that there's actually 4 steps, simple and quick. And the first step of business navigation, they all start with a P, by the way, just makes it easier to remember. If you have notes, pens and papers and you have a business, I encourage you to take notes and see how it could help you. So the first P is P for picture. And what I mean by that is the big picture of your business. Because you see, when we start a business, we all have in our heart the why we do it, the vision, the mission, and the values. But unfortunately, a lot of business owners keep that hidden inside, instead of taking it out in the open and making it visible to all people involved, customers, employees, stakeholders, and then it can become the identity of your business. This is how you can make your business an extension of who you are, rather than just a name and a product. Because people don't buy products. People buy people, an identity, what the company stands for. So that's the first P. The second P is for particulars. And what I mean by that is all those things that are relevant specifically to your business. It will be about your customers, the market you operate in, and what is the offer that you have to give. But being very, very clear about those particulars that are only relevant to your business and not yours or yours means that you can then lay the foundations of all the other strategies you need to implement, like sales, marketing, and operations. It is the lack of particulars that makes marketing strategies fail in a lot of cases. So once you've got your big picture and your particulars, you are ready for the third step, which is planning. Now, raise your hand if you have started a plan, not finished it, shoved it in the drawer, and then just got on with it. We've all done it. Absolutely everybody. But hear me out. In the words of Eisenhower, President of the United States, plans are useless, but planning is essential. And that's because things never quite happen the way you expect them. So the plan will not go as you expected. But it's the planning process that really, really matters. Because during that planning process, you're going to first identify where you are, where you want to get to, and very importantly, what's your best route to get there. Through that process also, you will identify what are the opportunities that you want to take advantage of, and also the threats and risks that you should be mitigating. That it is through that planning process that you can really be prepared. Does that make sense? Excellent. Now you've got the big picture, the particulars, and you've got your plan. That's when you are ready to do step 4. And step 4 is power up. This is when you can really grow your business, but too many people took straight there. That's when you are ready to put the rockets under your feet and go for the moon. But beware, because period of growth is actually when your business can be at its most vulnerable. And the reason is that when you are growing quickly, it upsets the balance of the business. There is so much change going on. More customers, new people on board, new processes. Give me a nod if you know of a company that started really, really well, and then as they grew bigger, the quality of the product went. There you go. And that's because they are not in control during their growth phase. So it's really important to follow those 4 steps and have all the processes in place that will allow you to keep in control of your business. And that's at whatever stage you are. I work with people, from startup to later on. I have with me here Rachel today. She's launched her business a year ago. It's called Amioka, and she is a diversity, equality and inclusivity consultant. But I've also got a client who's been in business for 5 years. She would have loved to be here today. She can't because she is a lucky winner. She has worked very hard to be one of the 50 women to be awarded Women in Innovation UK. Very, very pleased for her. And I feel very privileged to have been part of her journey in applying for that grant. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever stage of business you are in, if you want to be the one, but you have more questions than answers on how to get there, then I invite you to find out more about the tools of business navigation. I will be at the back of the room. There is a table there. I have also a drawer that you can enter. You can book with me a free strategy call. I would love to hear your story and your goals, and also discuss with you how I could help you get there. Thank you.